beautiful friends. Laurel Bleadon-Maffei here with Illuminating Souls. What's so beautiful is just as I started recording this, a blue jay is on a fence outside my window, and blue jays are one of my totems for joy. So I will take that message from the angels and send it right back to you. And another blue jay just showed up. Okay, angels, we will tune into the joy frequency here. Oh, that's so unusual. And a hummingbird. Wow, you guys, good medicine is here for us today. I think I need it. Maybe you do too. So today is April 13th, 2020, and this is our coronavirus conversation. I think the last time I published one of these was on April 2nd. So a lot has transpired in the last week and a half. Hard to believe. Honestly, I'm not sure what I'm going to come here and say to you. I haven't necessarily created talking points. I just have been feeling for the last few nights, in the wee hours of the morning, that I am supposed to come here and continue our conversation. So my intention is to just share with you where I am, how I'm experiencing things, not to make this all about me, but hopefully that I will reflect to you what I'm processing through, in case I can be a mirror for what you're going through, so that you don't feel alone in all of this. Things continue to be profoundly intense. My sense of things remains the same, that we are looking at a year to 18 months of being in a new rhythm, being in a new landscape, and finding our way through this. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will live in a perpetual state of escalation like we are now. There might be some things that are able to reboot along the way, but I believe this is going to come in waves, and we're in for a new landscape of life right now. I will tell you for myself, if you've been following along, I found out about this at the end of January, um, followed the news very closely all February, started preparing in March, and then it got very real. And I will tell you, even as much as I felt that I had prepared for this, as much as you can, I wasn't ready. I don't know that we ever are ready. The best example I can give you is when I lived in Los Angeles. I was prepared for a major earthquake. You think about things like, are my cabinets secured, and do I carry insurance, and what kind of water supply do I have, and canned food, and nothing prepares you for that moment when you are jolted out of bed by a giant earthquake, which is what I experienced in the Northridge earthquake in what was it, 1994, I think. 1994, 1993, whenever that was. It was so intense, and it changed our lives. It was living in a different reality for a while. So as much as I had intellectually prepared for this, I it's a shock to the system. For the past several days, I have felt exhausted. I have felt deep sadness and sorrow. Um, I keep saying I'm feeling the magnitude of this. If you've been watching my posts on Illuminating Souls, I use the word magnitude a lot, because it is so profound what we are going through. And I can see how there are those who cannot yet stretch their consciousness to accept all that is transpiring. When I'm doing angel sessions, sometimes somebody will pose a question, and the angels will come through and very gently say, "We're not sure that's the right question." And they will bring forward another question that actually creates a sense of expansion to explore whatever topic is up for clarity. And I hear the question in press conferences and on the mainstream media being asked of, when are we going to return to normal? When can we go back to school? When can we open businesses? And I want to say, my darling, beloved souls, that is not the right question. The question to really understand is, what will have to transpire for things to begin opening again? If you remember from the beginning of our conversations, I have been encouraging you to do your studying about this, to find those infectious disease specialists, the specialized journalists, the medical journals to follow so that you could study the science about all that is transpiring. Because if you're just relying on the mainstream news media, and listen, I have a healthy respect for the mainstream news media. I am not attacking them at all. They have a role to play, they have a job to do, and they can't be all things to all people. If they put an infectious disease specialist on for 30 minutes describing the R naught of a disease, which is how infectious it is, and the kind of antibodies and titers they're finding in people, people would fall asleep. I can't even believe I know what those things are now, an R naught and a titer, and it's because I'm studying. I'm trying to understand what is happening. So as much as you want to turn out off the news or tune it out, and you may want to tune out the talking heads, please study the science behind it. Study the papers that are being published in the New England Journal of Medicine and that are coming out of China and South Korea and Italy and Spain and France. Study the science and the data behind this because it will help you understand what will it take for the world to open up. What will that mean? You know what? I just realized I have to close some stuff down so I don't beep so much. That's where I get this sense of it's going to take 12 months to 18 months to begin to open things up. We have an incredibly infectious virus. We have no natural immunity to it that we know of. There are certainly people who get it who are asymptomatic and people who may never get sick from it, but the only way to know that is to test their antibodies. Right now, we can hardly test for people who are symptomatic, much less antibody tests for people who may or may not have had it. So we're a ways away from that happening. We don't have a vaccine. We don't have a meaningful treatment. So right now, staying home is the best thing that we can do, except let our essential workers go to work. As the rest of us stay home, we minimize their exposure, and we do the best we can as we begin to vision our way into what comes next. So take a deep breath in with me. Begin to use your intellect, your intuition, and your research abilities to keep yourself informed. As I track back to everything that happened, I think for me, what happened is on January 26th, I read about this. It had been in the news prior to that, but I read about it and I felt this wallop of energy and this just knowingness that I needed to pay attention. And I was talking with somebody a few days ago, and now in retrospect, I think what happened was I felt the energy. I got the intuitive hit that this was going to be so bad. And then I just started studying to try to build a foundation to understand what I was feeling. So we're in it for the long haul. I do believe we have the best and the brightest people working on solutions. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's our politicians. I mean, here in the US, it is crazy town here in terms of he said this and she said this and name calling and I've really had to work my process about my upset around that. It's like um, I can't even tell you how many videos that I started to record where I was doing some form of ranting and then my computer shut itself down. I have this gremlin in my computer that it shuts down every once in a while, and often it's annoying if I'm writing something and then all of a sudden my computer reboots itself. But what was really funny is that for a couple of days there, I started recording these messages where I was just ranting about all the things, and I'd be about 20 minutes in and my computer would reboot itself and I'm like, okay, angels, I'm walking away. I'm walking away. And I think that that's part of what we have to do is we have to let ourselves feel what we're feeling. We're feeling beings. We're empaths. We're wise beings. We're loving beings. We are feeling this deeply. We are a part of the story. We're not just observing it. We're in it. Our loved ones are in it. Our communities are in it. How can we not be impacted by what is happening? But we feel it, we witness it, we observe it, we participate in it, and then we do our best to use our spiritual toolbox and our self-help toolboxes to try to gain some altitude and take a deeper breath. But I will say I have had a really rough few days. I have been very, very tired. I have felt emotional. Um, I had some anxiety coming up the other night. My husband and I had been outside preparing for our garden, and when I say we, I mean mostly him, but I was out there keeping him company and helping a little bit. So we were outside, and I'm sure there was pollen and all the things that happen when you work outside in a garden. And that night I felt deeply tired. I was kind of congested, had a little bit of trouble breathing, not in a terrible way. Just I just noticed subtle changes in my body, and then I was up for a few hours worrying that I had gotten sick. And I know that that's not uncommon. I think all of us, we have two coughs in a row, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, that's it. Is that it? And we get afraid because this is scary stuff we're dealing with. So be loving with yourself, be patient with yourself, especially if your life is in upheaval. I know that for many of you, you have lost your stream of income, you've lost your jobs, your businesses have had to close down. Or if you're a parent and now you're home with your kids and you're having to um, keep them centered and moving forward. Like there has been a profound disruption in our lives and in the fabric of our society. We're not meant to know how to do this. We're not meant to all of a sudden turn this into the time when we write our great novel and we lose 50 pounds and we got it all together. I mean, listen, we're barely holding it together some days. And it's okay because we all get it. We all understand. It's not as if everybody else is doing this gracefully and I'm the one who's who's a wreck. It's like, oh my dears, we're all in this together. We're trying to figure out what masks to wear to the grocery store and how to disinfect our groceries and meeting with our friends and family over Zoom. It's a crazy time. And yet, in this, there are also opportunities for the new to be born. Not all of us, but some of us have room for spaciousness, like perhaps we haven't had before. My plan is to be very gentle with myself. I am not pushing myself to do anything. And just full disclosure, I don't often push myself very hard because I find that doesn't work for me. I'm not a really good, self-monitoring drill sergeant. Um, I tend to respond well to invitation and intention and joy and love. And so, just even as I say this, I remember just a few minutes ago when the two blue jays perched on the fence and then the hummingbird came by. And it's that reminder from the angels to look for the light, to look for the beauty, to look for the invitations, the opportunities in this. I'm not a big believer of everything happens for a reason. I think that there's a lot of randomness to life, that storms happen. So when people are like, everything happens for a reason, to me, that's overly simplistic. But I do believe that everything has the potential to be repurposed for our growth and upliftment. You know, and it's not a joyful, bubbly kind of perspective. It's sort of what's the opportunity here? How can I co-create miracles here? How can I show up and be a source of light here? How can I receive the light and send the light out to others? How can I cultivate goodness in the midst of this storm? When we use our hearts and our consciousness in that direction, we give permission to have beauty born through our lives. So this is what I'm trying to do each day. I'm successful on it for some days and not on others. There are days that I just want to pull the covers over my head and say, this is too much, Lord, this is too much. And then maybe a few hours later, I feel like I have the energy and I'm ready to go. I had the beautiful experience last week of facilitating a bunch of angel sessions. I hadn't been scheduling them because my energy's been rather unpredictable. But last Wednesday, I got the sense that I was going to try doing some sessions on Thursday. And I did a total of 5 sessions, and they were wonderful. And I was so grateful to know that that energy was there for me to plug into again. And not that it ever left. I mean, it was there, but I plugged into it again. And there's a part of me that wants to schedule everything like, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and you can schedule angel sessions and sort of get my business kind of in flow because there's so much need. And honestly, what I'm feeling is each day I'm showing up. Each day I'm saying to God, what are we going to do? What do you need from me? How do we love people? And sometimes, guys, that's the best we can do. So give yourself a break. Love yourself well. There's a lot happening, and we'll get through it together. So I love you, and we'll talk soon. Bye.